good recording equipment ourselves because we all make videos.
All right, listeners. Well, it is early morning, Sunday morning, but I don't know when you're listening to this. Stephen Rager, I've known this guy a long time. Good dude. He got up probably at 5 o'clock to do this interview at 6 o'clock because he's going hiking with his girls today, which is a great thing. But I'm pretty excited about this because I've known this guy a while. He's a nice guy. How you doing, Stephen? You doing all right this morning?
I'm doing well. Still waking up. Got my cup of coffee, and we're off to the races.
He's got one of those like German beer mugs of coffee too. It's huge.
We go to battle every morning because you got to sell yourself. So that's how I start my day right. Miracle morning right there.
There you go. How Elrod. Well, Stephen, a lot of our listeners, I know you and you know me, but a lot of listeners don't know you. So tell us a little bit about you because we'd like to get to know you better.
Well, I'm originally from Long Island, New York, and I grew up there. And when I was younger, it's kind of my introduction to the trades and stuff. So landscaping and light construction growing up, that's how I got myself in high school, toys and all those kind of fun things, money for girls, and then in college. That's part of it.
Isn't that a driving force to make money when you were young? And work out and everything else that if it wasn't for girls, I'd have no motivation, at least when I was young.
So then that paid for college as well. So going through school is how I paid for the majority of it and took some small loans. So when I got out, that was actually near 9/11. I graduated back in 2001. And 9/11 happened, and I went into the military in September of 2002. I have an accounting degree, but I wanted to serve the country and stuff. And I'd actually, even prior to 9/11, had been looking at different options and stuff. So,
thank you for your service. And I think tomorrow's Veterans Day too, so that's awesome. So tell us about your military service. Where were you, and all that sort of stuff.
I did reconnaissance. I was our official title was 19 Delta, was my MOS in the Army as a cavalry scout.
Okay.
And, we were out there on the front lines finding out the information and gathering intelligence that would go filter back up to the larger units. A lot of times in my particular experiences in my deployments, there would be just a few of us in a remote place providing that information. So I know everyone thinks of all the high-speed stuff. We were more like, you're out here in the middle of nowhere, don't get found because no one's coming to get you, and just call in and give us a couple final notes if somebody does. So, because you won't have enough ammo to before we can get somebody out there to help you and that kind of stuff. So wow. that was our reality.
Where were you stationed? Where'd you do your where were you stationed?
Fort Knox was where we did. I know everyone's familiar with the 9 weeks. Our basic training as cavalry scouts was 16 weeks. It was one unit stay. It's been so many years now, I forget the actual title. You do 16 weeks of boot camp basically, and you go through all the weapon systems, everything from your 9mm handguns right up to operating on Bradleys and Humvees and the Mark 19 grenade launcher and tow missiles, all that kind of stuff. And then you go to your duty station from there, or airborne school, or whichever one you go to after that. So I went to Schweinfurt, Germany, did about a year and a half there. Did my first deployment to Iraq there. That was back in 2005 to 6. We were actually supposed to be part of the initial group that went in, and it wasn't because of some of the politics with Turkey and stuff. So they delayed us for 1 year. We went into the follow-up and took over that area between Tikrit and Baghdad. I've got photos of me in Saddam Hussein's hole and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of interesting stuff, and I had like a 4 megapixel digital camera, so I got a ton of
state of the art at the time. Sure.
Yeah, back then it was like, this thing was amazing. So I have all these really good photos from that deployment. Came back, went to Fort Knox, did a second deployment, volunteered to go with a transportation company to run the gun truck up at the front and escort those guys around Iraq for that second deployment. And then when I came back, I went to Fort Riley after that. And it's part of how I ended up being a home inspector. I was getting ready for my third deployment, and I injured my back, and I wasn't able to stay in the military because of that back injury. So when I moved on, I knew I wouldn't be able to do physical labor type work anymore because my back was having issues. And I was dealing with the VA and that kind of stuff. So I feel like doing these home inspections like light duty, I don't carry any tools that are over like 30 pounds really.
Right,
Even
right, right.
ladders, like I use the extend and climb ladder. They're nice and light. I've got a 22-foot aluminum ladder for getting on the taller roofs, but that's kind of really the only big heavy equipment that we got. And so I did have a government job after I got out for about 5 years, where I was working behind a desk doing financial investigations, and there was some field time with that kind of stuff. But I found like sitting behind the desk was actually aggravating my back worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like getting in and out of the attics and crawl spaces require me to stay flexible, in shape, and it seems to be better on my back, to be honest with you, than
Right.
being cramped out of seat for 8 hours a day or
So,
more.
Steve, again, thank you for your service, and I'm sad to hear you hurt your back. So what? Okay, so you were doing financial investigation. What led you into home inspection, or how did you find out about it, and how did you transition into that?
Well, government jobs, they're good jobs. I could have stayed there and became a bag of bones and had great health insurance and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But what drew me into doing this stuff is I started up a handyman business because, you're limited to working 40 hours a week. So 40 hours a week is like a part-time job to me. So I started doing handyman stuff on the side and kept doing little things and stuff like that. And everybody kept asking me to do more and more.
Right.
And as I continued to grow, I knew that becoming like a contractor wouldn't be an option because I couldn't hang sheetrock or drywall all day long.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to lift the water heater itself to install them, though I could read the instructions, because that's what we do for a living, is read instructions on how to install stuff correctly.
Right.
But the physical labor of doing the work wasn't an option for me. So that's when I started to look into the home inspection stuff. I can't remember who tipped me off to it, but I finally had enough of people being like, can you look at this? Can you look at that?
Right.
I think that's what might have steered me towards it, because people kept asking me to just come out and check stuff. And I think maybe that's what made the light bulb go off about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. So this was 2000, what year? 4 or 5? What year?
For which?
Where you started to get into home inspection? Because I know you
3
joined
3 years ago, 2015 is when I started.
Okay. I was calculating on when you joined the Army.
Gotcha. No, I was in from 2002 to 2009, so almost 8 years.
Okay. That makes more sense now. So tell me about some of the changes that you've seen. I mean, I know you hadn't been in it a long, long time, but it's a rapidly changing industry. What's some of the changes that you've seen since you've been in the home inspection field?
I don't see a shift away from the real estate agents. I see increased opportunities to tap other revenue, or I should say referral sources, not necessarily revenue producing. I guess it's kind of tied hand in hand, but like, Facebook and Google and all these other things where, 15 years ago, it was strictly word of mouth referrals on who you would use for your home inspector. I'll often go out, and when I'm out marketing myself at events and stuff, folks will ask, why should you use you? And I can tell them, I got this experience building homes or working on homes. I wasn't the builder. I worked for the builder. And I could tout that kind of experience, but I say, instead of me selling myself, why don't you just read and watch some videos of testimonials from prior clients that'll tell you about me. And some of these testimonials and reviews are from real estate agents and contractors that are investors. So I've got a contractor that won't buy a property. He's like, if you're not available, I ain't buying the damn property. he gets it. One of the things that I have picked up on is that we kind of look at things differently than the contractors do. It's like a different set of eyes. Right.
Exactly. Well, Stephen, tell me a little bit. So you're a one-man shop, and I was too. And we talked a little bit in the pre-interview. It is a bit of a roller coaster, a little bit, and believe me, sometimes there's nothing wrong with being a one-man shop. Some days I wish I was again. I had more controllable problems then. Now sometimes I feel like my problems are out of control. But so tell us a little bit about how you market yourself. And I know it's tough. where it's like you go out and you market a little bit and then you get busy and then like the marketing drops off a little bit because then you're busy doing inspections. But then again, there is some online stuff and some stuff you can do that continually markets for you. And that's working in a good way in technology. But anyway, there's a lot of one-man shops that listen to this. Tell us a little bit about what you do to bring business in.
The methods that I've picked up on from I read a lot of books. I time block. So I'll do 2 inspections on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and 2 to 3 on Saturday, depending on the time of year. As soon as daylight saving hits, I cut the third a day. So I can technically, and, Tuesday might be an inspection plus a re-inspection. Wednesday might be 2 inspections plus a re-inspection. Right. Thursday might be an inspection plus a re-inspection. So with that time blocking method in there, I know Tuesday mornings, and that's when a lot of the real estate agent offices have their presentations. I'll time block to go in there and do an office presentation at a real estate agent office. And that's also the day that I use to call somebody the week prior and meet them for lunch on Tuesday at noon or Thursday at noon. So I'm working those 2 time blocks to build relationships with people face to face. And then I also heavily utilize Google reviews, YouTube, Facebook reviews. And for some reason, I get a ton of Zillow reviews. And also Yelp. I've really cut back on Yelp and stopped putting an emphasis on it, though the link is still there. Seems like they're going downhill fast from what I'm seeing online. And I had a beef with them a while back that they didn't want to address from someone that left a bad review that didn't even get an inspection from me.
Yeah, I'm with you on Yelp. So many things you said there that I want to go back on. I'm with you on Yelp because I felt like they were kind of like extortionists because it would be like you'd get one bad review, but you'd have all these good reviews and they would keep the bad one on top. Yes. And unless you paid them money,
yes.
And I'm like, that's like extortion. So
yes, it was that plus
maybe business practices. Maybe I don't want to say all that, but I do want to back up on some things you said that was brilliant. I thought being a one-man shop, you keep your Tuesdays kind of clear, and every Tuesday you try to organize an office presentation and try to take a realtor to lunch or coffee or something like that. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. So how do you get those set up? How do you get them lined up?
It's probably the hardest thing that all home inspectors will tell you. I pick up the phone and call somebody. I just target them. Open up the Sunday paper. I know like other people are like, you got to get MLS info. And I'm like, I can't get it. I'm like, so what? Where else can I find info on real estate? It's, oh, look who just got top listing agent over at this office. Maybe I should call that person.
Right.
So just using good old fashioned reconnaissance. I just look somebody up and say, does this person look like someone I want to do some business with? Let me read some reviews on them. Actually, that's something that I've done that it's, I think helped me is I've targeted the people that I want to partner with. So I go read the reviews on Zillow about that real estate agent, so I'm not blindly calling someone because we all know there might be someone that's a top producer in the area, but they're a PIA, and you might not get along with that person even though they generate a lot of work. And so I've looked to see what their personality is and have picked a few of them out and said, hey, and introduce myself from there. Some people will cold call. I'll typically warm call people after I send them some literature.
Right.
Emails and a slide dial, and then I'll call them physically and stuff like that. So I'm laying a foundation first.
Sure. And in my own mind, I put limits on myself. I hate rejection. I hate, that's why I hate calling people. But I'm almost like use me. But then I'm never direct. I mean, I guess the worst thing they can do is just say no. I mean, but if you're offering to take them food or bring them, I mean, how nasty can they be to you? I mean, I don't know.
Never had anyone curse me out. I know one guy was like, don't call me again. And I'm like, cool, thanks. Because to me, and anybody that's in sales knows that.
Yeah, they do it. They do it all the time. I mean.
Yes. So, you get 9 no's, the 10th one's going to be a yes. And so I'm like, all right, sweet. That's another no. All right. So soon enough, I'll get a yes. And just keep dying until I get them.
Good thinking, brother. You're going to grow. You're going to grow. You're going to grow with that thinking. All right, Steve. Well, how do you, because I know a lot of guys out there listening to this or, have similar pain points. How do you handle your phone calls and scheduling?
This is an easy one, even though it's not perfect. I literally, and I'm a numbers guy. And some of it's the accounting, the other part of it's reconnaissance, the other part of it's Darren Hardy with plan, do, review, and improve. So what you can't measure, you can't improve upon. So what I did during the busy season, back when I didn't have somebody answering the phones, was I wrote down in a notepad how many jobs I didn't get for like 2 or 3 months in a row.
Right.
And I calculated what the cost of the call service center was, and it was around $1,200 a month. And I'd lost more than 3 jobs a month because I didn't answer my phone. So once I calculated the number, crunched the number, looked at it, and said, for $1,200 a month, I can get 3 or more jobs retained. And then it was just a no-brainer. And I just went ahead, and then I said, I wish I did it sooner.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, and there's a bunch of them out there, and no call center is perfect, but just curious, and I've, I don't want to, nobody's paying us or anything like that, just out of curiosity. And I know, I mean, I've had a couple different ones, and every one of them have messed up a little bit and done some good things. It's never as good as you personally, but if they're 80% as good as you and you can do inspections, and that's great. Who do you use? Or, I mean, if you don't mind me, and if you don't want to answer this.
I was using ACC, and I just switched to ISG.
Okay.
So, and
which one's ISG? That's
ISG or RWS, ISG, RWS. Okay. So Nathan's group. And yes, you were right. But still, you go back and you crunch the number. Yes, mistakes get made. I had to call. I was mad the other day. I showed up at a job site, and my competitor's radon machine was in the house. And I'm like, my top referring real estate agent showed up. She's like, hey, Steve, what's the radon results? And I'm like, they didn't order it through me. And I'm like, I went back and I checked the conversation, and I watched the streamline. And the person answering the phone didn't tell the person and didn't tell radon. So they went and they got somebody else. And we do have the follow-up email. And I asked him, did you get that? He said, yeah, but we had already placed the order with somebody else. I said, oh, fine, thank you. Thanks very much. And so I made sure I thanked the call service center for making sure my competitor did that radon job.
I get it. It makes me mad too. And I'm not defending them. And that's the downside of a call center is they're usually answering the phones for multiple companies, and some do this and some don't do that. And I'm not making excuses for them, but I know because they scheduled us for stuff that we don't even do. And I'm like, I don't even do that.
But at the end of the day, I might not have had that job if they didn't answer the phone. So, so we're just working through things, and we're improving our system. So once again, it goes back to the plan, do, review, and improve. I made a plan, and I'm reviewing it right now. Like, hey, XYZ is not going right. I called them up there. I said, what do we need to do to rectify this? And here's what we're going to do. And I'm an ISN user. I said, the reports don't lie. We're going to have actual monthly meetings. You're going to get a monthly report of my ISN showing the improvement or not improvement of said sales.
Right.
So I'm all over it right now. We've had to my wife's, I'm all over getting it corrected at this time.
No, you're great. I agree. Well, Stephen, does your state, I know you're in Indiana, Evansville, I think. Does your state have licensing or are you a member of any associations? Which one and what are the benefits?
Yeah, Indiana is a licensed state where I'm a licensed home inspector. I've got a license to do the radon testing, and I've also got a license to do my WDI reports. Okay. So those are the main 3. There is no licensing in our state for doing like the air samples for molds in our state. So I do carry all 3 of those, and I do belong to both ASHI and INTERNACHI. In my opinion, they're both great, and they both bring a lot of value to the industries, or to our professions, I should say, that we can utilize to grow ourselves personally.
Agreed. And for all the listeners that are out there, definitely, become some member of some associations and take advantage of, the educational opportunities. There's a lot of online stuff. It's just a lot of stuff. So leading up to that, and this question may be the same, Stephen Covey talks about the 7 habits of success. And one of my favorite is sharpening the saw. So, we had this discussion earlier that you can't be too good looking or too smart. And neither one of us can do a whole lot about that first one, but we can work on that second one.
That's right. So
what do you do to sharpen the saw, Stephen?
Sharpen the saw. That's an easy one. I read a minimum of 12 books a year, and I'm doing between 12 and 24. I know some people will read like 5 books a month. I
Right.
slow my roll a little bit because I like to tab them out, highlight, listen to them in audible first as I'm cruising around and go
Me too.
purchase.
Windshield University.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
So at that rate, I'm just getting great nuggets of information out of all these different books that I'm putting into practice. And I like to try to implement what the books say. So it's one thing to say like, hey, I read 30 books a month, and then I may in casual conversation say, great, so can you tell me something you got out of a book last month that you've implemented? And I've heard people say, I read 60 books a year, and I'm like, all right, so what did you implement from each one of
Right.
those books? So for me, and just different people, different strokes for different folks, 12 to 24, and I can tell you things that I'm using actually out of the books to help grow the business and stuff.
All right. So if I'm listening to this, Stephen, and I want to ask you, so well, out of all the books you've listened to, what would be, if I haven't listened to any, which one would you recommend that I listen to first, and why?
I would
I
say,
say listen to because, like a lot of the listeners, we're driving around to inspections. When people ask me how many books you read, I really don't have a whole lot of time to read, but I got a lot of time to listen because I'm in the car, all the time. So, and most of these books are on Audible. So, what would if I hadn't been doing that habit, and I wanted to get into it, which one would you recommend, or what's the best one you've read or listened to, maybe, and why?
let me give you 2 books because the first one, not everyone's going to agree with me on. The best, and I would say the best book for personal development for me has been the Bible.
Okay.
It shows me that I'm not perfect. I ain't going to be perfect, and I need to work on myself more. That being said, the next one, it for me was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and figuring out like I need to do X, Y, and Z as well and implement a lot of those kind of things. So I do use a lot of the analogies, and I don't know if it's because I was in the military and I grew up doing construction. I spent so much time out in the cold in the seasons. I really understand the analogies where it's like you need to plant in the spring, you need to maintain during the summer, and you really need to harvest in the fall. And one of the things I take from the Bible and a lot of the other books is, man, you need to plant a lot of seeds in the spring because you don't know how good that harvest is going to be in the fall. You
Right.
can do everything perfectly right, and then a crop can fail in the fall, which
Right.
means you're going into the winter with an empty bank account. So
I've been there. I've been there.
yes, so that's one of the
Take
reasons.
out savings to make payroll before, and woo, that's not. It's been a while, but I have had to do that.
Right. So right now, my wife, was just nervous because, we're heading into the slow season and things have slowed down. And I
Right.
said, we got nothing to worry about. I put so much money back for this year. I could work the next 3 months and literally not do a single inspection. Now, I would never do that because that's not my personality. I said, look at this opportunity we have to build and grow the business now that we didn't have the time to work on it. Now I was working too much in it. Now I've got some wide open field to work on it for the next month or so, if it even came down to that. I would say
Awesome.
it's slowing down and it doesn't, but
You got the right attitude, Stephen. You're definitely going to grow. I'm sure the next time I see you. And for all the listeners out there, there's nothing. I mean, when I say he's going to grow because he has the right attitude, some people want to be a one-man shop and stay that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's days I think that I'd like to go back to that, but he's certainly going to get his calendar full, I'm sure, with it because he has the right.
let me say this regarding the one man and the one man versus multi. I'm choosing to go into the multi-inspector direction. I just talked with a really good friend of mine, an electrician up in Chicago that's part of my Ashy Greater Lakes chapter, who's more of the individual. I won't say any names on here. Like, we go to the conferences and some of these one-man bands, they're just absolutely rocking it, doing like anywhere from 250 to 400,000 in gross revenues by themselves.
Right.
We had a long conversation because he sees what I'm doing. He's like, how do I emulate what you're doing? I said, you don't, because it's not the direction you want to go in. You've got more of the technician mindset. I want you to read the E-Myth and decide where you want to go with your business. He's like, I don't want to have all these employees. And I said, that's fine. I said, go that other direction, ramp up these ancillary services and start bringing in the revenue so that you can take off with your kids during the winter time and do like that one a day, that uber technical person that's out there, like the Charles Buell, when I see him out there,
Right.
one a day, and he might take 700 pictures on site and have a big meaty report that's extremely detailed and accurate with a great ton of value and guidance for those people, and different strokes for different folks. So our profession has two different model sets that people can follow. You don't have to, it's not a requirement to become a large multi-inspector firm. There will always be that niche.
I don't know. And I always say, there's two ways to make more revenue. And well, there's only two ways really. You either got to do more inspections, or you've got to provide more value, thus, exchange of value, you get more value in return per inspection. Yeah. And, if you offer a lot of ancillary services, the sewer scope, mold, thermal imaging, and, some people want that and some people don't. And quite honestly, of the two models, more inspections or more value per inspection, the more value per inspection is, less risk, less driving time. It's not a bad model. It's not a bad model at all. So, if I ever retire, I might go to that model and just stay.
I think as we slow down, like I said to my wife, we do the mold testing and that kind of stuff. I said, down the road, as we get towards retirement age, I don't think I'll ever stop doing inspections. I might be like semi-retired where I now counsel and mentor somebody else that's bought the business and stay on and be like, yeah, I'm going to be here, but I'm going to be off like 1 week every quarter. And, when I'm not, I'm going to be your specialist that specializes in doing X, Y, and Z. I might specialize in that level 2 inspection of the fireplace per the CSIA. And then I might be your specialist as well on, analyzing and mold assessing or something like that coming up down the road. So there's just, our profession is so in depth, like everyone just thinks of the inspection, but man, there's so much out there. People call and they can you come check my house for meth? Can you come check my house for termites? Can you come check my irrigation system? I don't trust the company that was out here. And so they're looking for third-party opinions from a lot of us.
Right.
Infrared's perfect. I got a guy who wanted me to come over and check his house for a leak in the roof. And I said, okay, and I got my infrared camera, and he saw that I had been through the Monroe, and I was the Monroe course, and I'm a certified residential thermographer. So he saw that, and that's why he was calling. He said, I got a leak. We can't figure out where it's coming from. Can you come over and check it? Sure.
Yeah. I think it's great. And there is so many ancillary services. And then I did like something you said there, and I hope that model stays a third-party unbiased opinion. Mm-hmm. And I really think that's the value of a home inspector. Yeah. And I hope that's the thing that keeps us, I personally, I'm going to get off on a tangent here or down a rabbit hole for a second. I worry sometimes about all the tech companies coming in and the talk of them taking their inspections in-house and all that. And I'm like, but I really think when it all shakes out, I'm thinking you still need a third-party unbiased attention, because whenever, because like we have a lot of real estate companies here, and they got into the mortgage business. That was kind of, I'm going to do a lot of other things. But fortunately, they never, or most of them here didn't ever get into the home inspection, because that's just too much of a conflict. Because that, some of these I buy your house things, I mean, if you think about it, wait a minute, and you're going to do the inspection too, so you can purposely make that house worse so you can offer them less. I mean, that just seems like too much of a conflict. So I'm really hoping that we stay a third-party, unbiased opinion, and I think that's the value of a home inspector. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that.
No, I agree with you. And I think it'll be easy to maintain that third-party opinion using reviews, showcasing our work on YouTube, building out websites. I'm in the process now that I've had my slow season and I've got an entire year's worth of unmade videos I know I need to get to work on now. One of the things that's common in my area is that people will tell them you don't need to test for radon when you're over a crawl space. Well, guess what? I got a bunch of reports showing. Right. So I haven't had a chance to showcase that work yet on my website because I've been too busy working in the business and not on the business. So now that I have my time to do it, I'm going to make a bunch of videos, and guess what's going to, I'm pretty sure, naturally grow as a result when that stuff hits the website is more inspections over crawl spaces and on the slab homes.
Yeah, and while you're saying that, Stephen, I want to bring this up. We talked in the pre-talk. There's a lot of value in making YouTube videos, just of stuff you find. I mean, people, start a video of how to fill in the blank, or, think of problems people had. Like I had one, not problems, but why is ice coming out of your flue? You know, and man, that thing, golly, I gotta go check, see how many views it had, because that happens all the time, that sort of stuff. But my point of this, if you're a home inspector and you're listening to this, do me a favor, go out and subscribe to every other home inspector's channel, their YouTube channel. There's a subscribe button. And everybody who's got one, subscribe back. And all us home inspectors should be working together and liking each other's videos. Like it, let it play. Even if you don't watch it, let it play. Because the time that it plays gives it juice. And then if there's a backlink, that will give the website juice. So I recommend every home inspector listen to this. You know, make yourself a YouTube channel and go out and like all other home inspectors' YouTube channels and watch their videos, say something. And you know what? When people do that, then they're going to come back and watch yours and like you back. It's doing each other a favor and it's helping your Google rankings at the end of the day. That's what you're looking for. So, Stephen, what's your YouTube channel? I'll tell you mine. It's HI Carolina. So what's your YouTube channel? And if you listen to this and you got value out of what Stephen's saying, and I know you did, go like his channel. What is it, Steve?
The Evansville Home Inspector.
Evansville Home Inspector. And subscribe to it. Watch some of the videos. Click the like, the little thumbs up, and just comment like great video. It doesn't even have to be. I mean, the more you say, the better. But I would say that, you can even dislike it, but no, don't. I've had you get a couple of trolls on there, and they'll say something, and I'm like, you know what?
The haters are great. I love the haters. I know people don't like them.
But then I realized it pumped up my rating. So it's like,
there's a book called Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer. That's a writer. If anyone was to troll my Facebook feed, just troll down far enough to where I highlighted a 1-star review from a seller and read the response. Yeah. So that guy left me a bunch of nasty remarks, and then it was on Google, and so I screenshotted it and said, we're not going to remove this review. We want everyone to see the two-sided opinion. Out of 150 reviews, I got one negative one now from a seller. And so I just said, well, let's not remove that. Let's leave that in place, and then let's actually play off of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the seller. And obviously, I'm not working for them. But anyway, I'm not encouraging you to do that, but I am encouraging you to go like each other's YouTube channels and go out and find all home inspectors and say something. And, you may need to remind them, go check out my channel. I'm liking yours. Come back and like mine, because it helps, and it's going to help with your Google.
You know what's funny also about the YouTube channel?
What's that?
If you go to mine, and I never took them down, is how bad my first 20 videos.
Oh, they get better, yeah. It's time.
Oh, man. They're like, what are you talking about? That's not even right. They're like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, should I pull this? No, this shows how much I've grown over the last few years.
Right.
I think there's value, unless it was blatantly wrong or something. I don't think I've actually pulled one off of there, but I've had some nasty gram comments, and I'm like, this is great information from them. Thank you.
Same with me. Some of my first ones are hideous. The other thing that happens is over time, your video quality and your audio gets better. You get better equipment, and then you start getting curious. I'll type on there, how to edit this or that, and then I learn how to, but it doesn't have to be an expert. But if you start doing it, you'll naturally get a little better, and your lighting will get better. And there's a whole bunch of guys I follow like that, Justin Adishu, Peter McKinnon, a couple other guys that are and they tell you all the time all these little tips, and you go back and watch some of their older videos, and just simple stuff that'll make your video quality a lot better. But again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be, Hollywood production. Just, carry a camera with you in the crawl space, and when you see something, really interesting or just termite damage and show and what it's a great video.
Yes.
Well, let's move on, because I took us down that rabbit hole. What were you saying about Malcolm? That we were talking about ADD earlier, and I have it bad.
Squirrels. Yes, so I got squirrel syndrome. If Malcolm Godwin's listening to this out of the Chattanooga place, he'll tell you that I have problems with ADD, and I have what I call squirrel syndrome, that I'll chase down. Yeah, squirrel. What's this? Another business idea?
Shiny object.
So,
well,
yes.
Stephen, tell us about a success quote that you could share with us, and what is it about the quote that applies to you?
In order to have more, you have to become more, by Jim Rohn, off the top of my head. And the reason that applies is all of us should never stop learning.
Right.
As a natural result of you becoming more educated and with more certifications, you just naturally bring more value to the hour and you naturally get paid more. So one of the conversations you see constantly going on there is that I've got cheap Charlie in my market and all this kind of stuff. And so one of the ways that I combat that is, I've got the licensing. I'm an ASHI guy. I'm a NACHI guy. ASHI Greater Lakes peer-reviewed inspector, Monroe CRT, and I just keep taking the additional courses. And I'm looking at the EAFS program out of Tennessee there, from the Exterior Design Institute, so that I can do the EAFS inspections and stuff. Once you're able to do that, nobody else in your market can offer those services. Not saying that you can then go gouge the market on price. What I'm saying is, if I'm going out and I start looking at my doctor and this guy's got 1 credentialing and this guy's got 10 credentialings, I might look at the guy with 10 and say, maybe he's bringing more knowledge and experience to the table than the other individual.
Yeah.
So it's not just I've got 20 years of trades experience, because that might be 20 years of doing it wrong. If you never went to another continuing education course.
Well, it goes along with what we've been saying. You can't be too smart or too good looking.
Yeah, I should have used that one. I'm not getting any better looking, so I got to get smarter. Let me get to work.
Yeah,
Here's another book to read.
Yeah. All right. So, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle an unhappy camper? You have a process. What's that look like?
Gotcha. So, as soon as somebody calls and has a complaint, I call them right away as soon as I'm notified and let them know. If I'm on an inspection, I won't interrupt the inspection. They can wait like the 2 hours. But as soon as I go out to the vehicle, and I seen that something like that comes in, I call them right away and I say, hey, I'm out in the field. I can't field your call this minute. Let me call you back. I will call you back. I just need to get back to the house because I can't remember if I did your inspection 3 months ago, what was in your report. So if I'm at the house, obviously I'm going to call them back and discuss it right away. So I start the process there with those kind of things. Our company does offer the 90-day warranty and the other ancillary warranties with every inspection. So there's a system in place for them to actually start filling out the forms so that we can get a better hold on what it is that their complaint is.
Right.
So do they have a legitimate one, or is it an illegitimate one? So
illegitimate complaint.
So, and we're all humans. Don't get me wrong. I've made some mistakes, so I'll just get out the checkbook and take care of it. I haven't had anything like, we do a good inspection and it's a little beefier. I know people are like, if your report's 50 pages, you're wrong and stuff like that. I just believe in doing an above SOP inspection, and I don't have as many callbacks, I believe, as a result of that. So when I do get them, it's usually something small. I've got a loose doorknob one. I'm getting ready to write a check, so I forgot to document a sump pump going outside the property when it was tied into the main drain line. So I called my plumber friend. He's like $400. I said, sweet, I get an employee discount for doing the labor. He started to laugh. So, I'll go out there and just take care of them. I mean, I feel like that's what we should do if you actually did do something in the wrong.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, every once in a while I'll talk to an inspector. It's like, I never get a complaint call. And I'm like, you're either lying or you're not doing enough inspections, because it's going to happen.
I won't go down that road. I know a couple people I've never gotten a call back.
I don't care how good an inspector you are, because you got to factor in crazy people and you got to factor in weather. I mean, there's certain things you can't see on certain days, but I will say this. I always tell my guys this, this is the example I give. If there are 4 people playing cards, right? And we dealt out the cards and they were just all face cards and nobody could use any skill, you would win 25% of the time. I mean, if you played long enough. And what happens is the people who are skilled or good, increase that to, 40% of the time, because they're skilled card players. Well, I look at, there's a certain amount of natural, even if you were a good home inspector, that it's same thing. You're going to have a couple amount, but you start learning and skilled and you really hone in on the things that could cause problems, and you learn how to handle those. And, over time you get seasoned. So the amount of callback can go down, the amount that would, just, I don't know if that's the best analogy, but what you're doing is, I always say a seasoned inspector, you know how they season meat? They beat it with a pointy hammer and they rub salt in it. And that's kind of the way it happens with home inspectors. And I always say, you get beat up on something, or you'll never get beat up on that. You get burned on something, you will never get burned on that exact same thing again. You'll get burned on something else, but you'll always have that memory of your mind. So I don't know if comparing it to a card player is a good thing, but you become a skilled and seasoned person because you almost see some of those things coming before they happen. Anyway, sorry I got off on that.
No, you're right. I learned the most. Like I have a couple, real estate. We love what you do. You're doing great. I'm like, that's horrible feedback from you. I need to know what I'm doing wrong so I can go back and do it right. So when I get somebody that's upset or ornery, I'm really documenting that thing to see what I can learn the most from it. A matter of fact, it's a spin-off for an upcoming ancillary service. A lady called up and was upset that I didn't catch the cat or dog had been left in the room and it was peeing on the baseboard, and they painted over it. And I said, well, was there something that we could have done at the inspection? And she's like, well, you should pay for all new baseboard and repainting and replace doors and this kind of stuff. I said, okay, I got you. I said, you were at the inspection, does it seem reasonable that I should get down on my hands and knees and crawl along the baseboard in every room and sniff it? And she was like, well, and she started to tap dance around that answer. And, so I said to myself, went back and thought about it. And of course that was one of the meritless ones. And they did have another issue in the home that got taken care of under the 90-day warranty. That was not a big deal. I couldn't check the, I won't get into that. So what I figured out was actually I need to spin off an ancillary service that runs around with like a blue light checking for pet owners if they want to pay for that service.
Wow. The blue light will show if it's...
I don't know if it's blue light. I got to look into it. Somebody said it was either blue light or UV light or something like that, or there's ways to check for pet owners. And so anytime someone calls with these complaints, I'm like, you didn't order that service, so you can't call and complain about a particular service that we don't offer now.
Yeah, I had a couple similar to that, like where, they had carpet over hardwoods, and then obviously they move into the house, they pull up the carpet and they want to redo the hardwoods, and then there's pet stains.
Yeah.
From where, and obviously they're, mad, and I should have caught that, and there's no way. I mean, I can't see through the carpet. So, I got burned on, I got a couple of those, and then pretty soon I learned, better put that in the report that there's no way to tell, what the condition of the hardwoods are as far as stains and things like that. And I also tell them that, when you buy one of these older 50s house have been carpeted, and obviously they want to take up the hardwoods, which I would too, but there could be stains there. I can't pull up these people's carpet. We don't own it. We can't damage it. You may not even wind up buying it.
It's part of our standards of practice to document the limits of inspections.
Sure.
So I don't have a problem. I've got a number of CAM comments in our reports that say, look, as a limit of the inspection today, couldn't see behind X. Now, in occupied homes, we do have our part of our above SOP practice is we will check all accessible receptacles. Now, there's a CAM comment in the report that says if the home's occupied, we did a minimum of one receptacle per room. Because as we close the business and we got multiple inspectors, there's no way to control that. And I got to rely on their video or 360 photo when I go back and somebody has a complaint about a particular room in a house. Right. So, that's all going to play into there. So I've never had a problem with saying, water softeners. I'm not fully inspecting a water softener. I give it a cursory look. Same thing with the humidifier that's on the side of the furnace that's down there, wherever it's in basement, garage, whatever. Because nobody services that humidifier. Right. Matter of fact, it's one of the videos on my YouTube channel now that talks about them. Right. Because somebody called and had questions about them. It wasn't a complaint. It was more of a, hey, what do I do about this? I said, you know what? Thanks for the idea.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Video out of it.
Love it. All right, Stephen, we are going to get in a time that you failed coming up. But first, let's take a pause for our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Preston Sandlin, and I own Home Inspection Carolina, and I wanted to show you a way that you can get more home inspection leads. So what you can do, you obviously can do a pre-inspection, but I understand some people don't want to do that. But what it is, we set out a sign, and this sign is going to have information about the house. When you text that, you could have information about the house, you could have a home inspection discount, you could also lead them to a website. So this is my daughter, Sarah Margaret. Say hi.
Hi.
So Sarah Margaret, you pretend like you're buying this house, and I want you to text, you're riding by, doing the kiki dance, whatever, and you see, hey, I'm interested in this house. I'd like you to text info to that number, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and do that now. She's interested in the house. So for more information on this house, she's going to text that and a home inspection discount. Okay, so I just got the lead in the buyer. Now, you should get something in a second. So what'd you get? So click on the top one there, yeah. So you'll see what she gets. So she's going to get information about the house. And meanwhile, I got the lead. All right, so scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So there's like a little video about the house. Of course, your phone's really slow. There's multiple pictures of the house and whatnot. And well, there goes the video finally. I'm gonna have to edit this a little bit. But the cool thing is read what it says there. Read that out loud, Samara.
This is a demo house. It is not for sale. It is for demonstration purposes only. Information about the house would go here if this house was actually for sale. If you are interested in getting a home inspection, call 704-542-6575 with the code HIC 2018. You can receive a $23 discount on a home inspection on this house or any house you decide to buy in this area. Discount code HIC 2018. 704-542-6575.
Okay. Now, well, I talk a little bit. Text that same number, text info1. You can just use the same number, text info1 now. So what I'm going to do is show you how we did a couple of other things with it. But again, the whole thing is to drive leads. Now I have the lead and I can follow up with her. She's a potential buyer. I can do a drip campaign. Let me go one. Now click on that. What you got for no, top there. Edit this. See how there's a discount code there. Home inspection discount. All right, last one. Go back to that same text and text info 3. So this is something of value that's not a discount code. It's an inspection list. So I can put that sign anywhere. And again, see, I'm getting the lead. So I'll click on here to the lead. And you see, I just got these leads. Is your number 704-7? Oh, I better not say that out loud because guys will be calling you. But obviously, all right. So did you do info 3? Mm-hmm. All right. Now click on that top one and make show what that shows on there. So all 3, I captured the lead. I did information about the house with a home inspection discount. I can connect it to a URL that has a home inspection discount, a URL with a something giveaway, that's checklist, radon information, you name it. But we capture the lead. So everybody who texts this, we get that home inspection lead. They're going to need a home inspection. They're also going to need probably a realtor. So the realtor is going to like us as well. So check out inspectedhouses.com. It's a new way to get leads for your home inspection business and leads for the realtor as well. Thank you.
Do you feel the sign back up?
Hey, every day we're going to battle to sell ourselves, and they're going to choose someone to inspect their home, so they might as well choose a champion.
There you go. There you go.
So, I don't know. This is a little cheesy stuff. It works.
It's cool. It's cool.
You got to read persuasion and persuasion and
perspiration.
Well, the two of them. There's the persuasion and there's the persuasion. Did you know that?
No. Oh, what is it?
Robert Cialdini wrote the first one, the persuasion or the persuasion that we're both familiar with, and then I read his other book that he released not long ago, or maybe a few years ago now, Persuasion, and it's setting up the sale.
Yeah, the Robert. For all the listeners out there, that what Stephen's talking about is Dr. Robert Cialdini, who what is this? There were 6 influence, I think, persuasion. He is actually a psychologist, but he went out and studied sales and what people were really good at sales. And there were 6. This is the initial book. I know one's Law of Reciprocity, Authority is one. There's a couple of others, but I can't. Social Proof is a big one. There were 2 or 3 others, but anyway, look it up. It's 6. What is it? 6 levels of persuasion or something like that.
I can't remember the exact amount. It's been 2 or 3 years since I read it, but I do have that book tabbed out, and I have gone back to reference it. And I probably should reread it because just like you just pointed out, there's nuggets of information in these books that we don't pick up on the first time we go through them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one of them we tapped on earlier. It is called Law of Reciprocity. You do something for somebody, you give them value. They're morally obligated in their mind. So if somebody sends you enough referrals, sooner or later you're like, man, I got to send that guy referrals. I mean, he's hooking me up. And so the same thing with the idea with the YouTube. If people start liking and commenting, I mean, I sooner or later, and it don't take score. You'll never win if you take score. It's not about that. But if I keep giving out value, some of them are going to come back, because if they do it to me, it's like, I got to go like their stuff, So, it's just a good thing to do. It's natural. It happens with everybody. Well, Stephen, tell us about a time that you failed, and take us there, and what'd you learn from it?
Oh, there's 2 of them. The first and most important one is that I failed to spend enough time with my family. As I was building the business and trying to get this plane up off the ground, I sacrificed a lot of time. And I've had some conversations with a friend north of me about just working. I don't work on Sundays anymore. And I take that day off to, like I said today, I'm taking my daughter for a hike in the woods. To a couple different places with our camera and stuff, to spend some of that quality time and get away from the business. And I swear, now that I made myself do that, things have gotten better.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that sharpening or just disconnecting or you name it. Like, I can't take time off. It seems like if I take time off and I watch a movie or sit on the couch or something, it doesn't seem like time off because the wheels don't shut off.
Right.
So I take time off on Sunday and actually physically, I was like, we got to get out of the house.
Turn the phone off, or at least turn the business part of it off anyway.
Yeah. Like, let's get out of here and that kind of stuff. So I would say that's a personal failure, because you only got your kids once. And so that light bulb went off about my daughter. She's 10. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that we spend that time together, while she's younger and stuff, and beat it into her head that she needs to read books and, that kind of stuff, that we're, be a parent.
Absolutely.
So, because the demands of the business, it is a screaming child.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and you can, and even now, same thing. I forget, and I need to be reminded. And my problem is sometimes I can't shut it off when I lay my head down at night. It's like, I don't know if I should admit this on publicly, but I have to take sleeping pills sometimes, because I can't go to sleep, because it's like, I start thinking about stuff, and I'm worrying about stuff, and it's the life of a business owner. People think that it's glam and whatever, and it's a lot of work and worry, and it's a lot of stuff. And I'm not asking. Don't feel sorry for me, but at the same time, sometimes be careful what you wish for. But the best thing you can do is, like what you're doing, is you got to balance. You got to find balance. And if you're not in balance, you got to fix that, because
it's not always in balance. I told you about what happened yesterday. I had that whole day planned out, so, Greg Bryan, I'll see you in less than 30 days. If you're listening to this, that's one of the reasons I'm coming down there to see you in Texas is at your conference, is to how to better manage the business and shortcut those mistakes I'm going to make working in the business too much.
Yeah, and don't let the business eat you.
Let the business eat you. And I would say that's probably the next biggest failure is my failure to plan properly for the business because I get so busy in the business. I try to do these 90-day plans that I was taught at the SADI inspector and some of these other things. And it's like, I'm smoked, working, doing 2 or 3 inspections a day, trying to find another 30 minutes at 8 to 9 at night to work on a plan. And it's like you can't focus, and you've worked too many hours in the day, and now you're spinning your wheels, not actually effectively working.
No, I agree, and I think what you're doing is good because I burn out, and I'm coming off of it, but I've actually experienced, and I'm off and on, a pretty burnout. But I think what you're doing is like disconnecting, going hiking with your daughter. That's what you need to do, and then when you come back, don't even think about business, but when you come back next Monday, you'll probably be refreshed, Yeah. Whereas if you'd worked on your business all day Sunday, Monday, you'd be like, oh.
Well, and that's what I figured out. I read that book, Great at Work. I can't remember what his name was, but he helped co-write Good to Great with Jim Collins.
Oh, yeah.
And they have like the studies in there where they talked about, people that work the 7 days a week, 80-hour days and 100 hours a day, that they're just as effective at 80 hours as they are at like 55 hours or something like that. They were able to dial it in and went over that. I got to order a copy of that book. So taking a Sunday off to recharge the battery, spend some family time together, whether it's bowling with my wife or taking my daughter hiking or playing World of Warcraft with my daughter. That's important to me. So,
awesome. Well, and for all the listeners out there, we got to get on through this interview because Steve, this is on a Sunday, and I'm eating into his family time. But this is actually fun. This is I enjoy this. This is not like stressful. I enjoy this, but I hope you do too. But I know you got to get pampered.
I think a lot of people think the failure of the business would be like me missing the sump pump connecting to the drain. Like that's Tiddly. In that house, I'm going out there and I'll probably write a check for $400 to fix that sewer line. There was major structural issues I caught in that crawl space. And it's probably why I didn't see that line, because I was documenting the improper columns and cracks in the side wall and other stuff that's in there. So someone may have heard that and like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. There's a whole lot more going in that crawl space.
Oh yeah, no, I like checks. And actually, when I really did miss something, that doesn't bother me as bad as the ones that it wasn't something you missed, or it was on the report, but they still keep coming after you, or it was something that was hidden that there was no way. Actually, the one that, the ones that like I look at it, I'm like, dang, I should have seen that, or my guy should have seen that. It's gonna hurt. I'm gonna write that check, but after I write it, I'm done with it. Could have seen it. The ones that kill me are the ones that it was in the report. They just didn't read it, or or they're trying. Yeah, those are the ones that really bother.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. What's your?
Yeah, sorry, I think
I answered your question. Did I hit that on the head?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to ask you two. I'll just ask them both at the same time, and you can go. No, just one. I'm sorry. The opposite end of the spectrum. Have you had a moment where we talked about a failure, but I'm going to call it "I come a long way" moment. Have you had one of those where you realize like, wow, I've come a long way? And if not,
and part of it's my personality type. It's like when I reach the peak, I'm ready to go. I'm like ready to go to the next one. I won't take a lot of time off to celebrate successes, and that's probably a flaw of mine. And don't give myself enough credit for things. I know, like, because I can tell you're supposed to give yourself credit and pat on the back. I'm like, man, we did this. Let's get on to the next one.
Right.
Yeah. When I look at the numbers. And the numbers tell me I'm heading in the right direction and stuff like that. Like next week when I said I've got the slowdown, it doesn't matter that I got the slowdown. Like my numbers are phenomenal compared to what I was doing last year. And I don't look at my competition around me like they're my competition. No, I'm my own competition. It's up to me to do the best that I can and unlock my own potential. And if I'm not trying to unlock my own potential, I'm in the wrong. Right. So, you won't ever hear me bashing another guy. Matter of fact, I'll defend the people in the local area. Like, why didn't this guy see this? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he had a broken leg and he had to work because he's self-employed.
Yeah.
I think,
No, I agree. I never bash a competitor. Never.
So, I'm looking at it and going, well, I don't know what the house could have had a hoarder in here previously and it's been gutted, and I'll say things like that and talk about it because I feel like as soon as you're like, yeah, that guy should have seen this and blah, 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 I think we're actually devaluing ourselves.
You are. You absolutely.
I think we're devaluing the profession of home inspection. It's bad enough that you watch the forums, everyone's beating each other up on there. Stop.
I know. It's just
stop it. You're hurting your own pocketbook as soon as you start running your mouth like that. I
totally agree. Stephen, so you talked about some of the changes you've seen, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you obviously got some ideas. How do you think home inspections will change in the future?
I think the insurance industry will drive us into doing more video. I think that's coming down the road because of the liability part of it. You just can't, I'll write something in the report the sump pump was working at the time of the inspection, and you don't take a video of the sump pump actually working at the time of the inspection. I can picture them coming back and being like, the sump pump failed, and you're at fault. And then that thing could have failed 5 minutes after you left that home. And it's just not, how do you do that unless you have a video of it working? I already do it because I'm a home gauge user. And when I can check the air conditioning unit, I make a short 8-minute video of the thing working so it sounds right. Because somebody called up and was like, this thing didn't work for it. And I'm like, check your report, there's a video of it. Same thing with gas fireplaces. I do operate them. I've studied it and read it, and so I feel comfortable above SOP. I feel comfortable checking that particular appliance. And so I'll make a quick video actually instructing them. That's the 10-second video, and the report says, hey, you got a wall switch, it's operated by the switch on the wall. Here's your shut off, blah, 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 blah. 8 seconds of it running, and it's showing it running in the background. And I've actually had that phone call where the guy's like, this isn't working. It got overlooked during the report. Now, page 17, watch the video on how to operate it. Have a good one.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't done the video of the fireplace. I might add that. I always do a video or a picture of the temperature differentials because, we always get the call, the air conditioning's not working or something. And I'm like, and it's like a month and a half after the inspection. I'm like, I feel bad for you, but it was working on the day that we were there because there's the temperature differentials. I can't.
That's what I say that the industry's going to is the petty calls. One of the things, all right, so that's a perfect one is that temperature difference. I got a beef with that particular item. We're not there to report on the adequacy of the heating and air system, but we're in the
calculation. That's way beyond the scope of what we do.
Yes. And that kind of stuff. So I don't mind. And you talk with an HVAC person that's a whole side bar. We could go down a serious rabbit hole on that one. The point being it's not a part of an SOP right now to report on the adequacy. I guess if you chose to, you could do that as an above SOP item, but I'm getting to the point where I feel like I almost need to put a comment in the report, because if I check a home in April and it's really nice out, you can't tell how cool that room's going to get come July if there's not enough insulation above that room and it's baking in that room and there's it's not cool enough. And I'm sorry, there's no way for me to tell that. You can't record that. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a room like I'm in right now, basically a frog room over garage. I'm obviously going to check the insulation around that, but I can't. Like you said, you don't know until you go through.
The is pinched in a concealed spot, and it's not pushing volume.
Well, and I always tell this too. I'm going to do the best job I can, but I got 3 hours.
That's the other thing.
3 hours is not going to be the same as living in a house 6 months.
Yes.
But I'm going to do the best I can. But and the crazy thing is, a lot of times these complaints, if we miss something, we miss it. But like your sump pump thing, it's not like it seems like they're looking at, you missed this, blah blah blah. Well, how about that $10,000 worth of damage that I identified that you got repaired, and how about that new roof? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'm going down a squirrel.
No. I think that's a kind of, and that's why I believe that our industry will change with video coming up
Right.
the road,
Right.
because now the technologies come along between Spectora, HomeGauge, and these other reports, allowing you to put video in the report. You can now protect yourself or better serve your client, because I've even had it on the flip side where I've had two crazy or I shouldn't say, I've had a bunch of crazy people in the last 90 days. If you're going to pick something in the report to say that's not true, don't pick the one where there's documented evidence of it. Okay, so two of them were active leaks, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. There's a drip of water on the plumbing in the crawl space, and they're saying there's not a leak, and I took a picture of the puddle underneath it. I don't know. How do you respond to it?
Well, this must be the seller saying this, not the buyer.
Yeah, the seller came back, was refusing to address it and saying that there's not a leak, and I have an actual photo of water on the actual, like a puddle underneath. With
the plumber says there's not one, and he happens to be my cousin too.
Yeah, and then the other one I had, that's another one I was like, you got to, and that's why I said pick a gray area item. Like, the roof's got plenty of life left on it. Your guy's full of crap, right? You could dispute something that's got like 5 years on it or something.
This
the other one was termites. Like, I got a picture of a shelter tube, and the rigid insulation was full of the
trails.
The trails through it. I'm like, this is nuts. How are you? And I'm sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, looking at the report. I'm like, did I document it wrong? Did I do something? And then I just finally called the real estate agent back and said, I don't know what to tell you, but they're batshit crazy, because there's a name of a shelter tube, and it was in the same house with the water leak. I said, there's a puddle. So you guys got to work that out.
They got a handyman that probably has the same last name.
Video, I think.
Yeah. All right, that's a good lead into this question. We only got a couple more because I know you got to get to your hike. Have you ever been, and I know the answer to this before I ask, but have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know I have. You get that call. My contractor said you should have seen or identified X. First of all, has it happened? Which I know is yes. What's your thoughts on it? I don't really know what I'm asking other than your opinion or a way to, at least limit the bleeding a little bit.
It's hard to recover from them. It's like that old trust one. Like, I trusted you, and then you break the mirror, and you got to reassemble the mirror. And
right. It's always like they believe the last one there. You know what I mean?
So that last man theory, we do have a comment and a report about that kind of stuff. Thankfully, nothing bad came of it. And I was able to reason with them to get some second opinions before spending a lot of money on stuff. And it turned out it wasn't as bad as what they said it was. And of course, once again, it was something that couldn't have been seen during the inspection, right. And it was healed and that kind of stuff. And I thank God for the invention of, and I love this from HomeGauge, is that 360 camera. Mm-hmm. Most recently, it was water coming into a basement, and they had piled a bunch of personal belongings against that wall. And so there's different ways to do it. I take a knee, hold my 360 camera above my head, snap a photo of every room I go into. And while I'm in that room, I have a receptacle tester in a receptacle. I have a window open, the lights are on, the ceiling fan's going, and the doors are open if there's closets and stuff like that. And in that particular case, I was able to show, using the photos, that they had piled all their personal belongings in that area where the water was coming in, so that I couldn't get to it. Because I'd taken photos, I use an infrared camera and moisture meter. I went around and sampled the other walls in the basement that were accessible, and it didn't go off in my head at the time. That I should have actually just pushed their stuff out. I don't know how to figure that. I don't know if I could have done anything different. I think back and I said, what could I have done differently? Maybe I should have moved their personal belongings or something. I don't know.
Well, you open up a whole Pandora's box, though, when how much I've certainly moved personal belongings to get up in one of those little attics and stuff. But I don't know, there's a limit to how much you can do. I mean, in the amount of time you're allotted, and.
Yeah, so I don't know how to balance. Like, that's been a challenge, is how to balance the thoroughness versus the thoroughness versus the time on site, because people will call and get angry that I'm in the house for, I always tell people 45 minutes per 1,000 square feet plus add 30 minutes for a crawl space for me.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 3 to 4 hours is the average time I'm on site already on a property.
Yeah, and I've had the thing where there's a access to the attic over the garage, and they got cars in there, and the people aren't home. I mean, I certainly put it in the report that I couldn't, and I notify the real estate agent right away and say, hey, I'm going to be here for a little while. Is there any way you can call them and see if they can move this car, because I can't matter that.
Yes.
Stuff like that. But anyway, well, let's move on. This one kind of a fun one. What is the wildest, and remember this is a G-rated show on iTunes, what is the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on home?
It's kind of a viral post on my Facebook page that I post every year, and it's pretty cool. It looks like a damn dinosaur in the crawl space that I found. It's more like an interesting find. So I know a lot of people go off on adult activities and stuff like that.
Right.
Bones and that kind of. For me, it was like this thing people call it. Every year when I refresh or I share that Facebook memory, everyone's like, "That's super cool." It looks like a miniature dinosaur in the crawl space, and it's bones in this 110-year-old home. So I think it was
like a fossil.
Yeah, it looks like a fossil. It looks like a possum that died, and the majority of the skin has fallen off and rotted away. And so it's like these little bag of bones, and it looks like a little mini T-Rex that's there. It's just interesting.
Yeah, no. I've crawled across some carcasses, and
I love, for me as the owner, because I'm content driven. So that epic content marketing by Joe Paluzio, I love that stuff. Yeah. The nastier the home is,
the more
I am about it, because I'm in there like, this would make a great video. Look at this. This is all wrong.
Just make sure, all the listeners out there, I'm with you. Post stuff. Just don't ever say the address or anything that would give away, what house. But
yeah,
and I'm like, it's a picture of a crawl space. Nobody knows what crawl space it is but me.
I did actually. I did have an event this year where I posted. So the guy was running. Took the underneath the kitchen sink was on an exterior wall, and instead of draining down into the crawl space, they cut the line because it must have gotten clogged, ran it out through the sidewall, and then ran it about 20 feet behind the house, and it disappeared underground. So I'm like, well, that's not a popular way to.
Where is it going too? That's curious. Where's that line? To just dump it in the ground or what?
Well, there's no way to know once it terminates underground. So I wrote it up for improper plumbing and made a video about it, stuck it on YouTube, and the listing agent recognized the exterior wall. I said she could never have said anything because there was nothing that identified the house, the number, nothing. I just videotaped that left side of the house and faced from the front, plumbing being improper, and made a quick video about it. She's like, it worked fine for the last 20 years. So I just pulled the post.
Yeah, I got in trouble on one. When I look back, I was a lot younger. I got in trouble on one. I inspected this house. It was this older house, and I mean, it had cracks everywhere, all kinds of structural cracks. And I look back now, it's kind of funny, but I got in trouble. I filmed it, and I was filming all the structural cracks. Nothing to identify, no anything. Well, and I tried to get a sort of a what do you call that? A title that's like a teaser or a what do you call it? Clickbait.
Tagline.
So I said, home inspector finds crack house. I was younger then, and oh man, the listing agent got all mad. I was like, all right, I took it down. I was like, all right, but I was like, it was, well, I guess because I said crack house, but it was just, I was just talking about all the cracks, and I never identified it as, but I could see where they take it personally. I'm like, all right, I took it down, but nobody knows what house it is.
Here's what my takeaway from that experience. I use Google Calendar. So what I do as I'm identifying reports to do that kind of stuff with, because I got some new construction nightmare stuff, I go into Google Calendar and I click it forward to the following year. So it's been a full 6 months to a year.
Oh, so it wouldn't be anything you did recent. So there's no.
Yeah. So any of the posts you see from me online now is all stuff that's 6 months or older.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All the drama, the home's been sold, hasn't been sold, whatever. It's got a new listing agent. No one's going to recognize it or give a crap at that point.
There you go.
That was my takeaway and what I learned from that, so that somebody else doesn't get any drama.
Get their hair. Well, there's probably they're having a hard time selling it anyway. So there's more than And it's not your fault, but they need somebody to blame.
You should probably bring that crack house back. I bet you that'd be an awesome post.
It was great. Like, I had all these structural cracks, and I'm like, yeah, Charlotte Home Inspector identifies a crack house. Click here to see.
I think that
all the structural cracks.
Yeah, I love those taglines.
Yeah, clickbait. Well, Stephen, do you have any kind of training or marketing resource, any kind of resource or app or anything you found recently you'd be willing to share with the listeners that would be helpful? Like, I know some in the past have been Waze, Dropbox, the paint identifier one, and it doesn't have to be an app, but also the Level app. I love that. Have you ever used that where you can
yeah.
or not?
I don't know if there's anything that I'm using in particular. You know what? Pitch gauge. Does anybody? I don't know.
Yeah. It'll tell the pitch. Is it pitch gauge? That's the actual name of it?
Yeah. Oh.
And it'll tell like what if you angle it, what the pitch is.
Yeah, it'll tell you what the pitch of the roof is. And so really, I just use it.
Oh, that's cool. It's called pitch gauge.
Yeah, and you can turn the camera on. And so it'll show you like the actual picture of the roof and stuff. So it will show that like where you were on the roof and whatnot. So it shows you the pitch. So right. I use pitch gauge, and it's really just for those low slope roofs where they use shingles when they shouldn't have.
Awesome.
I'm trying to brag on. I use the goat. You've probably seen on my stuff. I use a bunch of things that most people won't, like the cougar paws, and I use the goat assist to get on those 12-12s and that kind of stuff because I got a billy goat background.
Right.
I'm a roof climber, where I know a lot of people don't have, you're not required to be.
That's good stuff. All right. Well, we just got 2 or 3 more questions here, and I'll let you go. Is there anything, Stephen, you're working on right now that has you jacked or excited about?
Yes. Yeah. The videos. And I'm actually redoing a bunch of templates in ISN and the website updates as well. So it's kind of there's 3 different things that I'm actually about to delve into. I think I've got around 70 pages 70 videos on the YouTube channel. Nice. And if they continue the way that they are, I'm hoping to double that within the next 6 months.
Yeah, that's a good thing about when business slows down a little bit. It gives you some time to work on a lot of these things you've wanted to do that, during the spring and summer, you don't have any time to, I'm making a running list during the spring and summer of stuff I'm going to do when it slows down.
You know what? A great app is actually Trello.
Yeah.
Is that anybody
tell the listeners a little bit about Trello.
All right. So Trello, Evernote, task management software. So there's a ton of things you think about doing throughout the year that you never actually do because you're busy working in the business and not on the business when you should be working on the business and not in the business. So I actually have a Trello board called projects to do in there. And I've got separate cards in there for ISN, YouTube, Facebook. And throughout the years, we don't do the actual idea that comes to mind or the plan that comes to mind. I drop it into the projects one in there so we don't forget about that.
Oh, I like it. Good.
All my video ideas for videos, I actually have a Trello checklist on there with it's broken down system by system in the house. And I probably have over 200 videos that I could make. And what I did was write down Jane Smith on 11/11/18 jacked up plumbing crawl space. And so later on down the road when I go, what should I make a video about? I don't actually have to think of anything. I just open up the Trello board, look at it, go, you know what? I don't remember what that is. Let me grab that file and look and see what was going on in the crawl space. So you don't forget because there's a ton of killer stuff that you see out there.
Keeps you organized. Awesome. This is one of my favorite questions. If you, Stephen, woke up tomorrow in a brand new town, still have all your equipment, all your training, room and board taken care of, but for whatever reason, an alternate universe, you woke up in a brand new town, but everything else was the same size market, and you had $5,000 to go market, but you didn't know anybody yet. How would you use that $5,000 in your first week?
The $5,000 would be used to buy a bunch of video and audio recording equipment to load out my Facebook page and YouTube channel demonstrating our capabilities. A portion of that would be used to buy flyers to go do presentations at all the local real estate agent offices that I could get into so I can introduce myself and then give them a bunch of leave behind content demonstrating our proficiencies, leading them back to the YouTube and Facebook page to showcase what our abilities are for when we restart the business somewhere. And then the last thing I would use that money for is all the different equipment that we use on site. I know some people walk around with just an electrical tester and a voltage sniffer and a screwdriver. That's my basic belt stuff. But, like I've used Cougar Paws, the Goat Assist. I just bought a high-end camera. This one's even got a telescoping lens for making our videos like we talk about. And all that kind of stuff will help drive in leads from multiple resources. And since we don't have that prior client base to work off of, for me, it's going to be internet leads followed by real estate agent referrals. Right. So that I would be hitting both of those at the same time, like we're currently doing. Well, actually, all three.
Good stuff. Stephen, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything.
Nothing I can think of. You asked everything I could think of.
Is there any thing you'd like to ask me? And of course, I have no idea what it would be. I mean, I'm not. And if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, name a couple books that you liked from this past year.
Oh, that's a good one.
I want to write that. What are some books I should read coming up? What would be the next 3 books I should read? Because I post online. You see them on my feed. Every month I post the book that I downloaded on Audible. So what are the next 3 books I should listen to and read?
Okay. All right. Well, I will. I'll go with that, and I'll give you a tip too. I alternate between business book, fiction book, business book, fiction book, because I love business books, but a fiction book too. I don't know. I read that or heard that from some executive somewhere, and it gives your mind a break, and then you come back. So first, let me give you some fiction. Anything by John Grisham. Love John Grisham. The guy. Harry Bosch, the guy who wrote The Lincoln Lawyer. I can't think of his name right now. Harry Bosch series. So I'll go fiction, and then I'll go business. My favorite one recently has been the Gene Simmons one, business book. I think it's called Me Inc. It's really good. He's just a phenomenal marketer. I mean, the guy is brilliant. Honestly, and I was a KISS fan when I was a kid. Honestly, if I was being truthfully honest, the KISS, the group, musically, there's a lot more talented people than them. But marketing, there is nobody better. Nobody better. And there's a lesson to be learned in that. And I mean, I hope I'm not saying that, that the stuff's not important. The guy is brilliant. And just listen to him and, some of the stuff. You don't have to do all this stuff. People always give me a hard time about the pants. And I'm like, it's not for everybody, but it's just marketing. And it doesn't have to be pants. It could be the fact that you do sewer scope or the fact that you just got to do something different to differentiate yourself, and you got to show it all the time. I'm sorry, but if you just get up and do a presentation, hey, I'm a great home inspector. I belong to this, and I have this certification, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, but so does most of the people in your market. So you got to figure out something to differentiate yourself.
I think the worst thing
you got to wear crazy pants, but go out there and learn how to do a sewer scope or be the guy who climbs roofs. That could be your thing. I'm the guy who climbs most of the roofs other guys don't, but just something. But anyway, Me Inc. is a good suggestion.
Gotcha.
All
so
right.
John Grisham, Harry Bosch, Lincoln Lawyer, Gene Simmons, Me Inc., right? I literally just wrote that down.
As soon as we get off this call, I'll think of some others that I just can't think of right this second. I wish I had my other. I've got, what? I keep all my Audible books. This is my phone, but I keep I have an old iPhone that has a lot of memory that I use. I don't, it's not my phone anymore, but I just load up my books on it, and I should go look on Audible. And then podcasts too. I listen to podcasts. I love podcasts, business podcasts. There's a bunch of them. So I listen to those too. And Grant Cardone's a good one. 10X. I know a lot of people are getting into that. He's got a couple of other ones. Sell or Be Sold. And those are
an older guy because I like Jim Rohn instead of Grant Cardone or something. Something wrong with me?
No. And there's a whole I love like Earl Nightingale and all those. What is it? Conan something.
There's a YouTube video, The Strangest Secret. I think everyone should listen to that like once every 6 months or something. Because it's about like our decisions. I like Tony Robbins, my daughter. She runs around and goes, "It's your decisions, not your conditions, that determine your destiny." And I just beat it in my head.
Oh yeah, I love all that motivational stuff. And that guy, what's the guy? Miraculous Jones. I can't think of his name right now.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, the guy who, Tremendous Jones, and the guy who does the thing about make your bed, the military guy, and it's just good habits, that sort of thing. But anyway, well, I got to let you go hiking with your daughter today. Don't think any more about business, but before you go, tell us all of your internet properties again so people can go give you some likes and subscribes to YouTube and likes on your Facebook page and all that stuff, because you've given them value. And through law of reciprocity, I hope they'll give you value back by subscribing to your channel and liking your page. So what are all those, Steve?
The EvansvilleHomeInspector.com is our URL for our business. And then our YouTube channel is the Evansville Home Inspector. And Facebook page, still the Evansville Home Inspector. So it's all named the same stuff. So whether you look me up on Facebook, Google, or YouTube, you're going to find it all under the same name, the Evansville Home Inspector. So that was the brand we built out. So even though we're called Champion Home Inspection, I wanted it localized because what I might do with the actual name Champion Home Inspection down the road. So.
Right. Awesome. That's smart. And if somebody wanted to find out more about you, could they email you? Is there an email address? Don't give out a phone. Some people give out their phone number, and I'm like, I don't know if you want this to go out on there.
Gotcha. Facebook actually is probably is a great way to get in touch with me.
Just message you through Facebook.
Yeah, just send me a friend request for Stephen. Stephen Rager, Newburgh, Indiana, is actually a great way to do it, because I've talked to people. People have contacted me because they're searching out being home inspectors and stuff, and they do Google searches for areas, and then I've had people call me and stuff. And, hey, I'm getting into this, but I'm over in Alabama. Can you give me some guidance on what I should do and stuff? Because we look, or I guess we are an established. I never really think about it that way, but we are an established business in this community. And so if you Google, we hold all the SEO and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So they're finding me that way and then reaching out to see what I did.
Awesome. Well, Steven, I appreciate it, brother. You've given a lot of gold nuggets. Thank you for your time. Now I'm going to let you go and give some time to your daughter. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, Steven.